Hey guys, my name is Cassandra the Unit Circle, and today I'm going to be drawing my life. So, I did some research into my family tree, and I realized I don't exactly have one true parent. A bunch of people contributed to the idea of me as time progressed. I guess that makes me special. I'm a circle with a radius 1. People use me to perform all kinds of trig functions on sine, cosine, tangent, secant. You get the gist. You can graph an angle on me in standard position as well, except you might need to know your way around the circle first. You see, angles that are positive go counterclockwise, while negative ones go clockwise. I have 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each of these has a specific sign in front of x and y, either positive or negative. You can measure degrees that are graphed on me in both degrees and radians. There are 360 degrees for every 1 rotation around me, but only 2 pi radians per rotation. We can actually use formulas to go between degrees and radians. To go from degrees to radians, you can multiply the angle measured by pi over 180. To go from radians to degrees, you have to multiply by 180 over pi. Very tricky, right? Now, if we have a negative angle, say negative 30 degrees, or pi over 6 radians, we can graph it by just flipping the protractor around on the bottom section of the graph and graphing 30 degrees. However, if it was, say, negative 210 degrees, we would keep the protractor at the top half of me since it's starting at the positive portion of the x-axis and moving clockwise, we would be in the top half. But there is a shortcut. If you are graphing in radians, you can count in portions of 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. Let's use an example. If we are graphing 11 pi over 6 radians, or 330 degrees, we recognize that we can subtract 90 degrees, or pi over 2, from the angle 3 times. Then we are left with pi over 3, which is 60 degrees. So if we put this all together as pi over 2 plus pi over 2 plus pi over 2 plus pi over 3, we get 11 pi over 6, or 330 degrees. This might make it easier for you to count and figure out which quadrant the angle is in before you graph it. I warned you that this was complicated. You might be wondering, Cassandra, how do we know all of these measurements for radians? Well, as we know, the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi times the radius, and since I am a circle with a radius of 1, we can't just say my circumference is 2 pi. If we set 2 pi radians at 360 degrees equal to each other, we get the formulas I mentioned earlier. Oh, and by the way, pi equals about 3.14. So when we say an angle is pi radians, its real measurement is in 3.14 radians. There are different kinds of angles that we can graph on a unit circle, like myself. One of these is called a quadrantal angle, in which the terminal side or ending side of the angle lands on an axis. These angles are 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, 360 degrees, basically just every 90 degrees or 2 pi. There are also coterminal angles, which is when an angle is not the same exact measurement as another angle, but has the same terminal and initial sides. An example of this would be 30 degrees and 390 degrees, or 45 degrees and negative 315 degrees. There are so many types. When you're drawing an angle, you can consider yourself drawing the hypotenuse to a triangle that starts at the origin and ends at the intersection. The point that is caused by the intersection of the angle and the circle's circumference can be used to create the sides of the circle, the x value being the length and the y value being the height. On a unit circle like myself, sides of a triangle can be negative, but the hypotenuse is never negative, since the sides are turned positive when they are squared, for the Pythagorean theorem. You can also use this triangle to find the points of a unit circle. If there are a missing value, like x, 2, you can use the angle and their trig functions in order to find the value. Or, in the case that you are missing only one side of the triangle, you can use the Pythagorean theorem in order to find it, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is the hypotenuse and a and b are the other sides of the triangle. I've pretty much explained how I work and where I came from. There are countless videos about me on the internet. I guess I'm popular? So many people want to explain me and how I work, but none of them know the true struggle of what it's like to be a unit circle, having to perform all of these trig functions. It just gets so tiring. Anyway, this is Cassandra the Unit Circle, signing off. Bye-bye!
with your girlfriend.
Yeah, 'cause I'm bored.
You can hit the morning. Yeah,
like it's your I know but
Go,
I
you
don't
hurry.
care. Break up with your girlfriend. Yeah, 'cause I'm bored. Girlfriend.
What are you doing?